going to start with the number 1 overall seed. Now, Boston College and Michigan will be the late game on Thursday night. You'll see that on ESPN2. But Boston College has been really the exceptional team of the year. They finally really, we talked all throughout the year. Was anybody pulling away? Was anybody establishing themselves as the number 1 team? Boston College, time and time again, even though they didn't win the Bean Pot, which I'm sure is a bit of a sore spot for them, they still had a tremendous season. 33-5-1, the best record in college hockey. 2 of their losses came against teams that will be competing in the Frozen Four. They lost 1 critical game to Boston University, but really owned that series otherwise. And then they also lost to Denver very early this season. So really going to be an intriguing thing there, but they will play Michigan in that second semifinal. What we know about Boston College is that they're driven by their top 2 lines and really driven a lot by their freshman unit. They've got 4 of the top 6 scorers in all of the NCAA. You've got Will Smith leading the way with 69 points, Cutter Gauthier with 64, Hobie Baker hat trick finalist, Ryan Leonard with 59, and Gabe Perreault with 57. And Perreault missed about 5 or 6 games. And so he's still among the top scorers in college hockey there. Leonard and Gauthier alone, if you separate them out, they would have accounted for 68 goals for just between the 2 of them, both of them over 30 goals. Cutter Gauthier, the highest scoring player in almost 20 years in the NCAA with 37 goals. So if he can get into both games, he has the chance to be the first 40-goal scorer. If he can score 3 goals, first 40-goal scorer in 30 years in the NCAA. So pretty remarkable feat. The offense is one thing, and those are the guys who are the highlights, but they have other players that can contribute offensively and have contributed offensively throughout the year. You think about guys like Oscar Jelvik. You think about some of the other players that they've been able to count on for offense. They've got a stable, steady defense. They don't always necessarily contribute in terms of high-level offense. Eamon Powell is their top scoring defenseman with 38 points, averaging a point per game. But you look at that secondary scoring. You got Jelvik, you've got Andre Gassot, Jack Malone, who scored some really big goals for BC towards the end of the season. Those players are going to help. But if you can find a way to slow down one of those top 2 lines, force them to beat you with their scoring depth, I think that's really where Boston College is a little bit vulnerable, but it's really difficult to do. You say, okay, well, shut down the Will Smith line. All right, that's fine. You still got to deal with Cutter Gauthier. Shut down Cutter Gauthier. Now you got to deal with the Will Smith line. They're a really tough team to match up against because of the way that they're able to spread out their scoring. They're always going to have a weapon on the ice. They're always going to be very deadly offensively. But it doesn't matter as much as being able to prevent goals. And the reason that I think BC is the favorite beyond having the best record in college hockey, beyond playing some of their best hockey down the stretch and being one of the highest scoring teams in the country, it's because of their goaltender, Jacob Fowler. .924 save percentage for Fowler. He's been one of the best goalies, in my opinion, the best goalie by a long shot in this Frozen Four. He still has to put together 2 strong games to prove that out. But I think it's, far and away in terms of pedigree. He hasn't lost a game since February 5th. That was the Beanpot game that I told you about. They lose that game to Boston University and have not lost since then. And that was certainly, they got their revenge a little bit in the Hockey East Championship in the final, and only allowed 2 goals in that one. I mean, he has been absolutely lights out this whole season. So really, really impressive for Jacob Fowler. And to me, he is the X factor of the entire Frozen Four if he is on his game. And let's not forget about how he played last year in the USHL Clark Cup playoffs. If he is on his game, he is very, very difficult to beat. He steps up in big moments. I think he's played his best hockey down the stretch this year. He's found that level of consistency. Even though he did allow 4 goals to Quinnipiac in that thrilling game in the regional final against Quinnipiac, I still think that that's a guy that you just don't want to see get into a rhythm, because when he does, it's really difficult to get him out of it. And that is when he is at his most dangerous. So as I mentioned, you got to try to shut down one of those top 2 lines and hope that maybe BC has to beat you with the scoring depth. But even if you do that, Jacob Fowler is the guy that can be that impenetrable force there, that fortress in the net there. And that could be really, challenging for whoever they play. So Boston College, to me, the favorites to win it all. We'll talk about predictions later, but that is a team that is, boy, they are loaded. They are loaded, loaded, loaded.